Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, the rare emergency pod. We might do more of these come NBA playoffs as the home setup allows for a little more flexibility here. And Lakers 113, Knicks 109, as the Lakers right now flatly look like not a contender, but the contender. I understand that Charles Barkley tried to minimize, and we'll get more on Chuck in a bit, what the Lakers have done to a good 2 weeks. It's getting close to a good 2 months. From the midway point of January to right now, March 7th, this has been the best team in basketball. And last night's game against the Knicks was not even close to their best game during this stretch, which is what made it so impressive. Said on TV yesterday that this felt like a game that the whole world was going to be betting the Lakers. They were oddly only 3.5-point favorites. Everyone had caught up with the fact that the Knicks were 0-8 going into this game against the top 2 seeds in the East, Boston, Cleveland, and the top 2 seeds in the West, the Lakers and the Thunder. And there was real questions about whether or not the Knicks could beat good teams. Karl Anthony Towns coming off missing the game for personal reasons. The Lakers flying high, getting Austin Reeves back. It felt like the whole world would be betting the Lakers. And I said, feels like a game the Lakers can lose, especially with the Boston game coming up on Saturday. And through 3 quarters, it looked like a game the Lakers were going to lose. And then in the fourth quarter, yes, the Lakers hit some shots, but they only scored 23 points. The story of the game, and LeBron said it afterwards, was going into with down 13 late in the third, down 8 going into the fourth, the Lakers held the Knicks to 15 fourth quarter points. And that was before Jalen Brunson. Story on the Knicks side is Jalen Brunson suffered a bad ankle injury in overtime. And you worry about him for the Knicks purposes for the next few weeks. Luckily for the Knicks, they have a decent cushion on Milwaukee, up 3.5 in the standings, to where they could maybe give Jalen some time and still hold on to that 3 spot. They were never catching Boston as the 2. They probably won't drop to the 4. So they should be able to be cautious with Jalen as long as the injury is not, a month, 6 weeks, something like that. But the story for the game for the Lakers is the defense was brilliant in the fourth quarter. And they held the Knicks to 99 points through regulation. They then end up winning in overtime. And a lot of tentacles to this basketball game. But Luka going 32, 7, and 12. And LeBron going 31, 12, and 8. Where they have almost identical points, 31 to 32. LeBron 12 rebounds, Luka 12 assists. Luka 7 rebounds, LeBron 8 assists, both taking 23 shots, both hitting their free throws, both struggling a bit from 3, somewhat mirror image games, except Luka's got the ball in his hands more, so he's going to be doing more distributing. LeBron guarding Karl Anthony Towns, more on that in a second, and getting clutch rebounds late, hitting his free throws. Again, the LeBron free throws are a thing. They're like a leap year. Once every 3 or 4 years when he misses a big one, we talk about him. The whole rest of the time, it's not a concern for anybody. Made all 4 down the stretch to ice the game. And this Austin Reeves was shaky. He was rusty. He was 2 of 13, worse than shaky. Dalton Connect was the only Laker other than LeBron and Luka in double figures. Jackson Hayes came back down to earth after his really good stretch. Gabe Vincent, 11 minutes, 0 points, zeros across the stat board except for 1 rebound and 1 foul. Jared Vanderbilt didn't do much for you. He played some really good defense to his credit, but I'm talking offensively. None of it mattered because LeBron and Luka were that good on offense, and defensively, the Lakers once again were great. And before the game, if you were watching inside the NBA, and like I said, we'll get to the Chuck piece of it in a bit, but Kenny Smith smartly said what he was most interested in was when the Knicks played a center and LeBron was matched up on Karl Anthony Towns, would the Knicks be able to take advantage of Karl Anthony Towns having a size advantage, being guarded by a 40-year-old? And the answer to that question was no. Karl Anthony Towns finishes the game 3 of 13 from the field, 2 of 11, I believe, on possessions where LeBron James was the primary defender. And LeBron, as he has his entire career from year 2 to year 22, what do you need from me tonight? I gotcha. And all of this stuff I've heard for years about the questions about, well, when you're talking about the greatest players ever, what about the defensive gap between LeBron and Michael? It is a defensive gap between LeBron and Michael. It's a significant one in LeBron's edge because he is and continues to be truly the only superstar in league history who can credibly guard all 5 positions. Whether it was the Eastern Conference Finals more than a decade ago, guarding league MVP point guard D Rose, or whether it was the first round of the playoffs last year, guarding Nikola Jokic at times when no other Laker could deal with him. Now, obviously, LeBron struggled with Jokic as well, but it's Nikola Jokic, at the peak of his powers. The Lakers' game plan yesterday was have the 40-year-old at 70,000 minutes guard Karl Anthony Towns, and it worked. And the JJ Redick, I continue to be wildly impressed by every time we hear Redick, even in those cliche in the huddle moments when he's just telling the guys essentially what you want to hear. Candace Parker said on the broadcast, it's what you want to hear from the coach, not getting spooked by missed shots, instead saying they're good looks, we're going to make the shots, we got to get the stops, and they got the stops. They got the stops down the stretch. There was a play that would have been incomprehensible for any time really in LeBron's career since Kyrie left the Cavs. So since 2017, where a critical possession down the stretch, LeBron is standing as a floor spacer in the corner, and Luka is out there cooking, draws a double, makes the pass. Then I forget who he passed to. I think it was Austin. Might have been Gabe Vincent. Finds LeBron alone in the corner. And all of a sudden, LeBron James, down 4, critical situation, has an open corner 3, the best shot in basketball. The type of shot he truly has not gotten throughout most of his career, but certainly at almost any time in the last decade, because he's been the guy drawing the double team. He's been the guy creating the offense that leads to someone else's open corner 3. Gets it, nails it. Lakers go on to win. Jalen gets hurt in overtime, which is a huge bummer. But healthy or not, the Knicks side of this is very simple. Despite trading for Mikal Bridges and despite trading for Karl Anthony Towns, this team is not a real contender. This team does not live with the big boys of the rest of the league. Right now, I would put the contenders into 3 buckets. Oh my God, are they really this good? Is OKC and Cleveland. The record says they are. The advanced metrics say they are. You still feel like you need to see either of those teams as currently put together go on a real run in the postseason. And that might not be fair, but in the NBA in particular, it's just really hard to believe a team is going to win 4 rounds before you've even seen them win 3 rounds, or in Cleveland, Oklahoma City's case, even seen them win 2 rounds. So that's bucket 1. Are they really this good? Bucket 2 is nobody wants to play them. Probably the 2 best teams, Boston and the Lakers. The Lakers right now have the 2 smartest offensive players in the league. 2 of the 3. I got to include Jokic in that. Right now, in my opinion, with respect to Tatum, the 2 best wings in the league. I don't consider Shea. You consider Shea a wing or more of a guard. In Luka and LeBron, and a great coach, and the rest of the lineup is busting their ass on defense and hitting threes. And then there's one more bucket of contenders, and that is, this is not a really catchy title, but the argument for these 2 teams, the Bucks and the Nuggets, are we have a top 20 all-time player. Can he go on a run that puts himself closer to 10 than to 20 all-time? Meaning Giannis and Jokic, and Giannis has kind of been the forgotten guy, having an unbelievable season and having the Bucks right there. Can either of those guys go on an all-time 6-week run like we saw them each go on in 23 and in 21, where they were just, for the better part of a couple months, thermonuclear weapons en route to a championship? No one else is a contender. The Warriors, God loves Steph, and he is playing out of his mind and continued it last night, are not contenders. The Knicks obviously are not contenders, and I don't think there's anybody would even argue for Memphis or Houston or Minnesota, which has taken a huge step back this year, for anybody else. So that's Lakers-Knicks, the basketball game. We'll get to Lakers-Knicks, the event, in a moment. But first, who's scoring big in the NBA this season? You are, with all the new ways to get in on the action. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, for Monster Slams, Dish in the Rock, Cleaning Glass. Get behind your favorite players and the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking how many points your favorite player will have. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. Last night, I gave you 2 of the easiest winners on yesterday's pod you're ever going to have. We gave you Steph over 25.5. What did Steph finish with? 40. So Steph's over hit by 14.5. I also gave you Austin Reeves under 18.5. It could have been under 8.5 and it would have hit. He finished with 8. So gave you 2 dead-on winners yesterday. So we're 2-0 since vacation. We're 3-3 overall after a little shaky start. We're going to keep track of these. If I'm going to give out, you guys know this from listening to the NFL gambling show, if I'm going to give out any betting, I don't even know if I call it advice, betting picks, it's bets I'm actually going to make as well. So I was with you guys on Steph over 25.5 and Austin under 18.5. And if you're new, first time, here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Take to the rack DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use code WRIGHT, WRIGHT. That actually really helps me out a lot if you guys could do that. That's code WRIGHT, WRIGHT, for new customers. Get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. This episode of What's Right is brought to you by Daya Pizza, featuring dairy-free cheese made with their new Daya Oat Cream Blend. Dairy-free cheese come a long way, and Daya is leading the charge. Their pizzas offer the melt and stretch of traditional cheese without any dairy. Each Daya pizza starts with a perfectly crisp crust, layered with savory, satisfying toppings, and finished with cheese that melts and stretches beautifully. The Daya Oat Cream Blend delivers a creamy, cheesy texture that's indistinguishable from dairy-based options. Every pizza crafted to be dairy-free, making it a great choice for anyone seeking more inclusive meal options without compromising on taste. Daya takes the concept of dairy-free to a new level, eliminating faux mou. It's not the fear of cows, that is the fear of missing dairy. These pizzas deliver delicious taste and texture, making them perfect for any occasion, from casual dinners to game day spreads. Enjoy a faux mou-free pizza night with Daya. Visit DayaFoods.com for more information, or find Daya Pizza at retailers like Whole Foods, Kroger, and Walmart. Coming soon to select Publix and Sprouts. Follow Daya on Instagram and TikTok for more updates and recipes. I sent out some tweets yesterday about Barkley. So Barkley went after Kendrick Perkins bad in the pregame show. And, that's Perkins' fight to make, to have, that's not so much my business. And Perkins then basically was like, I'm easy to find. I'll stay out of that one. But what I won't stay out of is the hypocrisy of how some, and again, everyone loves Chuck. Everyone loves Chuck. Hand up, myself included. He is one of the most universally beloved and hilarious, successful, awesome sportscasters in history. All that is true. What's also true is he, like a lot of others, has a real blind spot, if you even want to call it that, when it comes to LeBron, and in Chuck's case, more specifically, when it comes to the Lakers. And I'm not some lifelong Laker fan. People can criticize me for this, but I've always been transparent about it. I'm the same high school class as LeBron. High school basketball team, my senior year, we would all get together at my house and watch St. Vincent St. Mary's play because we thought it was, whenever they were on ESPN, because we thought it was so cool that guys our age were on ESPN playing. We even tried to like maybe we can run some of the plays they're running. Turns out having the 17-year-old future GOAT allowed them to run some offense we couldn't run for small Midwestern private school I went to. Neither here nor there. The reason I bring that up is Kansas City didn't have a basketball team. I actually grew up as a little kid a Knicks fan because my mom was from New York. But by the time I was in high school, I didn't really have a team. And I just said at that moment, listen, this guy on St. Vincent St. Mary's, LeBron James, he's my favorite player. And wherever he goes is where I'll go. So I have been one of those people. Who do I root for? Whichever team LeBron's on. And people laugh at that, whatever, say it's bad fandom. I don't care. What I owe the audience is honesty. Oh, yes, I was saying he had a blind spot for the Lakers. The reason I even mentioned that is I'm not some lifelong Laker fan, but I've been a Laker fan the last 7 years since LeBron's been there. And Chuck, all year long, has said basically the Lakers are a non-story. The Lakers are, they are discussed because they're the Lakers and because the media is obsessed with LeBron and for no other reason. And listen, when the Lakers started 4-4, it's like, maybe he's going to be right. And then when they were 13-12, it's like, okay. Probably just a mediocre team, and LeBron wasn't really at the first month of the season wasn't playing great. But then before they traded for Luka, the day they traded for Luka, they were 29-19 and on a nice run. And that was with Anthony Davis having been out some games. And the narrative was still the Lakers are not to be taken seriously. Fine. They weren't a championship contender before they traded for Luka. But then after they traded for Luka, some folks, none louder than Chuck, doubled down on it. said the Mavs would be better this season. The Lakers should consider, for as much as Chuck killed ESPN for not just talking about the Lakers, couple days after the Luka trade, Chuck went on ESPN and started talking about that the Lakers should trade LeBron to Golden State or to San Antonio. Just fan fiction Laker trades. But again, set that aside. Doubled down that this team still was not a real threat. And then last night, before the game, when he's ripping Perk, he says, because they've had a good 2 weeks, we're all falling over ourselves about the Lakers. Guys, they have been, by a record standpoint, by a defense standpoint, the best team in the league for 6 weeks. They went from 22-18 to 40-21. In that stretch, beating Boston, Golden State, the Knicks, the Clippers, Golden State, Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers, the Knicks. 10 teams that are definitive playoff teams. I'm not even including Dallas in that because I shouldn't include Dallas in that. So 10 wins. Their only losses, one was to Philly, got beat badly, and then the loss right before the break against Utah was in just a brutal game for the Lakers where Luka really struggled and LeBron really struggled, and then the unforgivable game right after the break to the Hornets. But they're 18-3 in the last 6 weeks. And so before the game, it was they've had a good 2 weeks. At halftime, it was a damn party. Oh, they're going to be crying tomorrow about the Lakers. And then after the game, looked like someone had just repossessed his car. And Kenny is trying to talk about how the Lakers potentially match up against the Thunder, and Charles won't even let him do it. Charles is like, well, they got to get there, and that is true, they got to get there, but it is pretty common practice to talk about how the 1 seed and the 2 seed would match up in the conference finals. And folks can have wanted this to not work. Folks can have just been loud and wrong. Again, got to be fair here, even though I love him. As Chuck was the loudest and wrongest about Luka and LeBron fitting together. Everyone's wrong on stuff. I said Jason Tatum was the 5th best player in his draft class. Like, people are, and that's just one of 100. But in the face of being that wrong, to not give an inch and to just keep moving the goalposts, it's transparent. And people do start to wonder why. I understood you say, and one other thing I got to say. Chuck being like, we need to talk more about the Thunder and the Cavs. That's probably a fair point. It's a weird messenger. Does anyone really think that he's watching a ton of Thunder and Cavs? Like, does one of the reasons everybody loves him is because things like who he play for are so hilarious? Does anyone really think he's naming more than 4 Thunder or Cavs? Like, it feels disingenuous. And before I go, one last thing. I mentioned this on Thursday's pod. I'll mention it again. Because the other thing Chuck did was rip anybody who's engaging in the LeBron-Jordan debate. You guys have noticed, right? You guys have noticed how much ground has been ceded to where now people are just like, I don't want to have the fight anymore. No. Let's just, you know what? They're both great. not that long ago, from these same exact people, this is what you heard. LeBron versus Michael. When did LeBron pass Kobe? All right? 5-4. Wait, you guys are putting him against Michael. When did he pass Kobe? You heard that. Then a little time passed and it became this. Listen, now it's hating on LeBron to call him the second greatest player ever. Yes, we all know he's the second greatest player ever, but he's no Michael Jordan. And now two different things have happened. One is this. You know what? Let's just not have the argument anymore. They're both great. It's too hard to parse. Let's just agree to disagree. That's happening. And the other thing that started with the Steph conversation is trying to muddy what, everybody's a GOAT. Steph's a GOAT. Kobe's a GOAT. LeBron's a GOAT. Kareem's a GOAT. Michael's a GOAT. They're all GOATs. They know they've lost the argument. And so they're trying to say, now that I've lost the argument's dumb. And in fact, everybody's a winner in it. We see what you're doing. Lakers might be the most dangerous team in the NBA right now. And got a really tough road trip in the next 8 days. At Boston, at Brooklyn, at Milwaukee, at Denver. At Milwaukee, at Denver is a back-to-back. And at Boston, it's a huge game. It's a potential finals preview. The Lakers beat them the last time. The Lakers coming off an overtime game. That's going to be a tough one. But they're in great shape right now. And I'm really interested in how the Western Conference playoff bracket's going to shake out. Because the only thing we know is OKC is the one. I understand folks really want the Warriors to move up to that 4-5 line so the Warriors don't have to deal with OKC, the Lakers, or Denver in round one, and we could potentially get OKC, Lakers, Denver, and Golden State as the 4 teams remaining in round two. But Golden State right now is a true 3 back of the 5 line and only a half game up on the 7. So Golden State's got to keep rolling and hope Minnesota doesn't get hot. With that said, Golden State is about to enter as tough as the Lakers next week is. Golden State's next week is Detroit, who's actually pretty good. Portland, who's playing better, but they should be able to beat Sacramento, and then the Knicks, and all those games at Golden State. So they should at the very least stay the 6, which could make the 2-3 between the Lakers Nuggets all the more important. Who can hold on to that 2 line? But all of a sudden, nobody wants to play that team in purple and gold. And it is very, very difficult for me to see them not playing in the Western Conference Finals, and in those conference finals having the greatest playoff performer of all time in LeBron James and one of the most prolific playoff scorers ever in Luka Doncic playing against the youngest team to ever make the conference finals in the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tough matchup. Talk about it more. See you guys on TV shortly. What's right?